Hi everyone, it's Kate from the Fold Line. I am back this week with the Sew Down. This is our monthly roundup of stuff that we've seen, read, listened to, watched, that we think you guys will find interesting, good stuff for when you're sewing. Yeah, so lots of really interesting things in here that we hope you guys will find inspiring and you can get involved in. So I'm going to start with a few things I've got to read, some exhibitions, a couple of Instagram-y things, something to watch, quite a lot of podcasts. So if you're up for like listening, hang fire. So first things first is an article in The Guardian that's really sad. The designer Issey Miyake died, aged 84 this month, which was really sad, and it's a bit about his work, and he was obviously, as many of you know, like hugely influential and really pushed the boundaries of design, and I've always loved his work. So it's a really nice little article to read about him. It's really sad. There's another article from The Guardian as well, this is really interesting, and many of you I'm sure have sewn with rayon fabric or viscose. It's quite a deep dive into the fabric, how it's made, how it's produced, and I almost don't want to tell you too much about it because it's really interesting. So definitely, if you're looking for something good to kind of get stuck into, it's quite, I'm just scrolling down, it's quite kind of good and meaty. Go and have a read of that because it's really interesting. Exhibition, quite a nice exciting one if you're feeling like you need to inject some colour into your life. The Power of Pattern by Cafe Facet is at the Fashion and Textile Museum. It starts on the 23rd of September and ends in March, so it's on for a really long time. The Fashion and Textile Museum, if you are coming to London, is always worth a visit. It's amazing, and this will be really great. And they'll have loads of his original drawings and stuff. I think it will be a really interesting one. So definitely get that in your diaries if you need a little bit of colour in your life. Next up, a couple of things that are kind of happening on Instagram that I thought were worth mentioning. Talco magazine, if you haven't come across it, is a really kind of new magazine. We love it. We actually stock it if you were interested in it. They are doing a talk, it's going to be a live talk on Instagram about climate change and with the textile artist, Julie Beeler. I think this will be really fascinating. I'm hoping that they'll also kind of keep it live so that we can go and watch it afterwards. But she is, they'll be talking with, Julie is a mushroom dyeing expert. So anyone who's got the last magazine from Talco, there was a whole article about it with her, and so this is, I think, will be really great. So put the date in diary. So the 18th of September at 9 AM PST, 6 PM. You have to work out the time difference. I can't, off the top of my head, I can't work this out. So go make sure. That will be good and worth checking out. There's also, with the New Craft House have got their Sew Yourself Sustainable Month. It starts on it will be running throughout September. I'm just going to read what it's written. It's less of a challenge and more of an opportunity to think and learn about sewing more sustainably. There'll be prizes, podcast episodes. So if you don't follow the New Craft House, go and follow them because I think this will be really nice to follow along. They're also doing a fabric swap, and they did this last year and it was really great. So definitely worth checking and following along. Sewing kind of event. There is the Crafty So and So are doing the Dressmakers Ball again this October. It's based in Leicester if you're around that sort of part of the world, and lots of people go, and it seems like a really fun event. So I'll pop a link. Obviously everything I mentioned, there'll be links down below. So I'll have a link so you can go and have a look at that. So next up, I've got something to watch. It's definitely a bit quieter in August. I think September's like the month where they release all the really great TV, but this I really have enjoyed. I've started watching it. It's Making the Cut. It's on Amazon Prime. It's the 3rd season of it, and it's a bit like Project Runway where you have a designer and they set challenges each week. If you haven't watched it, it's kind of really nice watching. I always love it. And they always get designers from all over the world as well, which I really like. So there are people from everywhere. Definitely worth watching if you want sort of something kind of light and fluffy but sewing related. Podcasts, right. There are some good things to talk to you about. So the first thing I'm going to talk to you about is a podcast that I mentioned ages ago called The Teacher's Pet. And if you haven't listened to it, it is really worth going and listening to. It's a true crime. It's set in Australia, and it's about a guy whose wife goes missing, and he ends up kind of dating, I think he's a teacher, and he ends up dating one of his students. It's all a bit seedy, but exciting news, guys. In the news today, he's been charged with it. So they never knew what happened to his wife. It's a really sad story, but he has been charged with her murder today. So if you haven't listened to the podcast, go and listen to it because it's a really good one. But if you have, I'll pop a link to the Guardian article. Quite shocking. That was just a little bit of true crime news. Another podcast episode, Desert Island Discs. They're actually 2 episodes, really fantastic ones. The first one is Andrew Ramroop, who is a tailor on Savile Row. He's really charismatic and hilarious, and his episode was really lovely. If you haven't listened to it, I really enjoyed it. The other Desert Island Disc, which I loved, is the Adele episode. If you haven't listened to that one yet, please go and have a listen because it's amazing, especially if you were born in the 80s, because her song choices were completely my teenage growing up years. So I think you'll really enjoy it. But those 2 episodes on Desert Island Discs are really fab. Another podcast episode, it's Jessie Burton, Meet Me at the Museum. I haven't listened to this. This is actually Louisa listened to this, and she said that there's loads of chat in it about sewing, which should be really interesting. So it's on my list to listen to next. So that one looks great. The other one is Check Your Thread podcast, which is a sewing based one if you haven't come across it. There's a really nice episode, The Journey to Zero Waste, with Birgitta Hemmelson, who is a zero waste indie designer. This episode's really great. So if you're feeling, I think it's about an hour. Is it about an hour? Nearly an hour, yeah. It's a nice kind of deep dive, and it was a really good one. So I enjoyed that if you haven't listened to it yet. Next we've got, this one is, I've listened to this. It's The History of Fashion Dressed, which is the title of the podcast, which I've definitely mentioned before. And this is with an interview with Stephen Jones, who is a milliner. He was actually my old boss. And if you are interested in hats and stuff, it's a really nice interview. Yeah, he's very charismatic and he interviews very well. So it's definitely one worth going and listening to. And last but not least, it's a new podcast that I've listened to a few episodes, and I'm really enjoying it. It's called Best Friend Therapy. It's with Elizabeth Day, who is a writer, and I've spoken about her other podcast, How to Fail, before, and her best friend Emma. So they talk about kind of big topics, and her friends are psychotherapists. So they're very interesting conversations. Elizabeth Day is a really great interviewer, and she's talking about her own experiences mixed in, but they're really nice conversations. So if you are looking for something to have kind of chugging on in the background while you're sewing, I really liked this. So I think you guys will too. Anyway, I hope that was like a nice kind of overview of some stuff to kind of get stuck into this month. We will be back soon with another video. Have a lovely weekend. Bye.